Welcome back, friends and family, to Global Speedrun Association. We've got the second race of the day coming your way between Dansta and Rhea. My name is Dangers, joined again on the mic by Limcube, doubleheader. How's it going, Limcube?
Imagine doing two races. Pork. Oh, looks like the recent supporters are now here as well, as we do not have webcams for this match, just pointing this out. We do still give these runners a choice between doing webcam matches or not. Obviously, as we grow, these guys are going to have to get out there, but we are slowly but surely making them esport athletes here over at the GSA channel. And you can expect webcam and no webcam matches, depending on runners' preferences. But we do have Rhea versus Dansta here, and this is going to be an interesting match. Haven't seen much of Rhea recently, but this is just like Equan. Sometimes he just comes out of the shadows and does amazingly, and he is a great runner. Dansta, obviously himself, while being an amazing runner, also very involved in Super Mario Maker activities, so we'll see how much that will affect his play.
Yes, that is true. Keeping his gaming fingers nice and nimble. Dansta, meanwhile, same thing, has been kind of working on Mario Maker recently, but has been continuing the grind on his personal time. So he has one of the better times in this league, just shy of a sub-hour of his own with a 1:00:01 PB. So very likely that this guy could be making some strides in this league this season.
Oh, we got some instant upgrades here on that bracket. Tyron now in first place, taking 71 points from this one. Equan still getting 19 for his performance, so still getting some extra points in. But as of right now, Tyron with the win. This is obviously also going to be very interesting to see these live results, see how those outcomes affects the bracket. But we move back to the gameplay now, as these guys are getting ready to start here, setting up their summertime abuse strategy to get that sand seed moon, and then we are good to go.
And away to the races with these guys. So predictions, Limcube. This should be an interesting race, I think.
Yeah, I feel like this is almost impossible to give you an accurate prediction for. I can just really take what I know, right? I can, like, that's I guess the most reasonable way to make a guess, if anything. And if I did that, I would probably assume that Dansta could come out on top here. I think he has maybe been the more active player between those two still, but you never know. Once again, Rhea not too actively practicing, maybe on some alt accounts, maybe just completely offline. So he may just straight out crush him, but we'll see. And it's obviously, it also always depends on that particular day. You have better days, you have worse days, and we'll see.
And looks like these guys are going to be playing on the same version of the game, the digital version. So that load discrepancy that we noticed in the last race, not going to be taking a hold here necessarily.
Dude, I just realized for the first time that this fork here in Cap is actually RNG.
It is.
It looks like. What if that actually, like, matters? What if the game lags more if you have, like, more visible fork or something? I've never actually realized that.
Honestly, wouldn't surprise me too much. Usually you get a pattern of fog that lets you roll through clearly and nicely, but sometimes you get a pattern that just kind of blocks your view and inhibits your ability to see where you're going. Maybe that one is worse, but we also have Dansta on the left side here, messing up a little bit on capturing this frog. I was actually going to say...
Surprisingly, that he's the cat god is probably what you wanted to say.
Yes, that's exactly where I was going with that sentence. But, you know, Dansta showing that, you know, even in his prime area, he can still kind of fumble things around a little bit.
Yeah. Also, just like Equan, very known for his early game success rate, his early game, like the amount of tricks that he nails there and how clean his early game always was. But we will see if that shows today, because right now actually is able to get that lead back throughout the topper fight and maybe even throughout that cap tower completion. But yeah, also looking at Cascade and Sand Kingdom specifically, and even Lake is something that he always nailed.
Yep, holding, I think he had the Cascade record for a little while. But yeah, very, very solid early game from Dansta, and you can expect to see that here in this race. And despite the mess up in the frog room, does look like Dansta is actually going to be coming out of here with the lead anyways.
Once again, it's going to be time to capture the chain jump here. Very far-reaching spin throw from Dansta there. Literally using all of that maximum distance that spin throw has in that first kind of ellipse it takes as Mario throws it out. That's the reason we use that so much. Just reaches further, faster than any other throw. And other than that, both of them capturing that quite fine. We did see Tyron slip here on that bridge, which I do expect to see not only once. Once again, I think this is an underrated spin count. Getting that right angle here can fail more often than you think, but this time, both of these guys nailing it.
And that triple jump, now you'll notice these guys going to the left side for some reason. It just so happens that the loading zone for this cutscene in front of the Odyssey is kind of a curve around the edge of the bridge. So instead of going directly forward, we're going to try and catch the very edge of that loading zone, and it just so happens to be right over top of that rock. And also helps us to get like a little vector in there as well, save a bit of time.
Interesting camera angle from Dansta there as he was going for the dino skip. Really making sure that he hits the right part of that trampoline or of that block as it's still carrying a trampoline. And yeah, actually kind of a signature strat here from Dansta. This is almost always the verifier for me that this is actually Dansta's gameplay. He just likes to switch sides out the first hit here on Madame Brutal. Something that I always noticed. At first I thought this was maybe because he didn't get the perfect hit the first time. Because if you do take too much time to hit Madame Brutal there, she will kind of walk up, making the second hit harder, but this is just something he likes to do.
And it is possible that the optimal path in Cap Kingdom to get the times that he does, those 216s, could involve skipping out on some of the coin rings that are in that space. So by using the rocks in the Madame Brutal fight, he's able to kind of compensate for some of those.
Now it is time to see their personal choice of moons. I wouldn't be surprised if Dansta opts to go for that chest moon, as once again he does take so much care of his early game times. And looks like that's what he's going to try. But Rhea is going to be opting to do the same here. Obviously all depends on how fast you get this chest clip, and both of them going for very quick ones. Dansta definitely getting it. Rhea should be fine as well. So both of them actually with a very good start are going to have an easy, they will have an easy time to get that seed moon in sand, and looking good.
Pretty solid early game from both of these guys. Just a minor mistake from both of them in the Cap Kingdom. But Cascade, no troubles here at all. Even getting the chest clip, which is something we didn't see in the first race. And on their way to sand.
And now that we have our second North American versus European match of the day, with Europe taking a 1-0 lead, I'm very interested to see how this rivalry is going to evolve throughout. Once again, this technically already existed in the previous league, but it's even more interesting now. We have more European runners now than last season, and just seeing it on screen every time is maybe going to allow us to do, don't get toxic guys, but maybe going to allow us to have a little bit of an EU versus NA rivalry. I think it can be quite fun if it stays in the realms of friendly banter.
You know, it's kind of funny that you mentioned that, because on this very first day, we have 4 European racers within the league. And all 4 of them are facing off against North American opponents on this very first day. So it'll be interesting to see just how this first day plays out with that.
Very good sand planting from both of them, but Rhea is going to be taking a bonk here against the top of the church. Shouldn't be affected too much. This bird is traveling towards it. He did almost miss it, but still was able to basically instantly hit it, so won't really lose any time. Just a fraction, or maybe 1 second.
As long as you catch that bird before it flies all the way by, you won't be losing too much time. If you catch it really early, you still have to go all the way out to capture the seed and then come back. Or capture the bird moon, rather, and then come back. So as long as it is captured before it passes the pipe, you're good.
And Rhea having a little bit of trouble there getting that seed moon, and that's actually arguably also one of the hardest parts of that seed strategy. Getting that seed opened up quickly. But yeah. not the biggest time loss here. Doom Moon coming up on the left screen again. Equan did lose some time to it earlier, but Dansta does have the Moon acquired. Let's see if Raya can match that on his part. Gets the spin pound, uncovers the Moon, so both of them are good to go.
And Dansta approaching this archway first. Getting the Moon just fine. It's going to come down to his Dram strat. Oh, Raya going for that archway. It looks like he was trying to go for that side flip. And now Cappy's just absolutely bullying him as he tries to go for a backup here. Having a lot of trouble getting up on top of that archway.
Yeah, that's the ice pillar can be quite frustrating. It's been known, one of the main reasons we obviously do the Dram strat here, because of the slippiness of the ice spike. Trickiness of the ice spike. But looks like Dansta got that strat just fine. Raya is going to be getting it as well.
Yep, not getting bamboozled by the platforms at all. We saw Dansta go for the single bill strategy there. So using the same bullet bill to use the Dram strategy and then also to continue along. And actually the second time in these league races that we've seen somebody crash their bullet bill into the little stone platforms here.
Pretty big time loss overall, since you have to travel. I mean, this is what we consider a big time loss at this point in time. As you have to wait for the next build to spawn, you have to go back, capture it again, probably looking at around 4 seconds there easily. Let's see if Raya can skip getting the same time loss. It's actually taking a while to capture that bill, which might affect his second bill, but he should still be there in time to capture it, and is going to save some time over over Dansta in that specific section.
For sure. Dansta's still a pretty commanding lead through the Sand Kingdom.
But you already pointed out that single build strategy, and overall we do see those slight optimizations that Dansta is going for in the early game here, only moving that cactus in not even an inch to get that ground pound in. And even though this is not necessarily hard to do, just visibly going for all of these tiny optimizations and also getting them for the most part.
Ooh, and very nice single throw notes from Dansta as well. Not having to throw his cap a second time to get all of the notes to get that Moon and out of the Sand Kingdom. Very clean.
Yeah, very clean indeed. Now, let's collect the notes Moon here. It's actually missing that one note for a little bit. It's really hard to miss that notes Moon entirely. The timer is quite generous, especially considering the speedrun strats, which for the most part are specifically the spin throw. But you can obviously still lose time here. Now, we didn't really mention in the first race, it's a very, very minor detail. Most runners will opt to warp to the Odyssey here instead of, as we used to, roll there. Rolling always used to be around 1.5 seconds faster optimally, but with that faster warp loading time, rolling is only optimally faster, and getting optimal rolls is pretty much RNG. And you have to just go ham on your controller, get all of the right roll boosts to even save time, and that's just basically wasted effort.
Absolutely. The warp is definitely the consistent way to go there.
Lake time for Dansta, and another kingdom where he always showed mastery. Specifically, that lake lip section is obviously the important one here. The kingdom is fairly chill, other than that specific section. That's where it turns into hell for a little bit. Let's see.
Dansta the first to set it up, grabbing this Moon first. He's going to be adjusting his camera here. Very quick setup by the looks of it, not getting any sort of fake clips, and he's going to be through the wall immediately. Very good late clip from Dansta.
Yeah, for sure. Looking clean, as expected. Let's see if Raya is going to be able to match this one on the right screen. Going into the corner to set up the clip. Throws Cappy, gets it to clip the first time, clips himself, is going to be able to get the ground pound, good out of bounds movement, quick dives, and both of them here with a pretty solid start overall. And Dansta did mention that even though his early game is definitely above average, he might still struggle in those mid-game sections, and even though he does have the lead, this is where Raya could come back.
Absolutely. It is still too early to say anything about how this is going to pan out into the mid-game.
Dansta was also going for that down throw strategy onto that cheap. Same for Rhea. Both of the other runners not switching to the Joy-Cons to do that. I'm not sure. No, I'm pretty sure both of these runners are Pro-Con runners, so they just opt to switch their controllers there to be able to do the exclusive down throw input. That's only possible on those controllers. And then switch back to their controller of choice.
And as far as top runners are concerned, it's kind of split 50-50 nowadays what the strategy there is to do. And it was originally thought optimal that the Joy-Cons, Rhea, there we go. Having a little bit of to get to that moon, but the optimal strat was thought to be that down throw, but we have developed a new strategy where you can kind of just roll off the side of that platform and ground pound and kind of do a water dive.
Yeah, we saw Tyron do it earlier.
Exactly that, yeah. So that ends up being around the exact same amount of time. Sometimes it can even be faster, so it really just kind of comes down to personal preference. I know that me personally, I've switched to that just because the Joy-Cons are
not having to matter. And yeah, not having to even deal with like charging, connecting, disconnecting them. We've even seen some hiccups where the Joy-Cons like didn't properly disconnect after the switch, and then runners lost major amounts of time because they had the wrong controller in the hand. So overall, that seems to be the more reasonable strategy, but also obviously not easy or not free. And since these guys seem to be just still used to that down throw, both of them went for it.
And into Wooded now. Now, if a kingdom was going to shift the momentum of this race, this is definitely a contender for one of those kingdoms.
Quickly checking those coin counts. Dansta is at 109, Rhea's at 110, so both of them did acquire the needed amount as they make their way to the shop. Dansta has already purchased the shop moon and is now going to the risky and scary section of the kingdom. And Rhea is free to do the same as his coin count is high enough.
Dansta going for the tree route here. We haven't seen any of the older variation of the route from any of these runners yet. Nobody going for the Piranha Plant Moon. Dansta taking a little bit of a bonk, falling down the tree. Not a big deal, though.
There's a chance that, I was about to say, there's a chance that Rhea might go for the Piranha Plant Moon, but nope, proving me wrong. Is actually going to get at least one of these nice uproot boosts. Dansta wasn't able to get any of them, which actually does, it sounds ridiculous, but that actually does drastically affect the amount of time save that you can get going for this route. If you want to save time with this moon, you need to be speedy with that uproot. Always a opportunity to go check those best theoretical time clips to see if that's even worth. But Dansta actually falling down on the ramp. This is such a repeated mistake. I was actually getting a flashback to season 1 where we did see that happening before.
Quite a lot, in fact. The physics of that ramp are such that you're supposed to be running up them with a rocket flower, and maintaining your maximum speed is the only thing that allows you to continue to run along it. These guys are mashing the jump button as they go up. Very strange thing from Rhea there. It looks like Cappy just did not decide to cooperate.
And that actually exactly happened to Tyron earlier, so this seems to be a reoccurring thing. Especially this making a mistake there's not only on ramp but also on that section to get over, kind of like a weird spacing on those platforms. This can be common.
Dansta having to redo his spin pound there, get a regular ground pound. He's actually going to grab the checkpoint here. Pretty smart play considering...
Race safety.
Yeah, if you mess up any part of this movement upcoming, you will be warped back to the shop if you don't grab that checkpoint. So, smart thing to do from Dansta. Rhea not opting for it at all. He's going to be playing this risky.
It's going to pay off if he is able to do this optimally, as Dansta definitely actually wasted some time trying to get that checkpoint. Also getting hit by the Piranha Plant here, quite unfortunately. Does have enough speed to go over to the other section. The dive will be enough, just barely, but is enough. But yeah, Rhea is able to not only avoid that mistake, but also able to skip out on that checkpoint, but he could technically still fall down here, which would be quite horrific. But overall, immediately making up a good chunk of time here in Wooded.
Yeah, the hardest part of this movement is essentially over. You just have to go over to this door in the tower, and at this point they are safe.
Turn jump strategy to the left here as he's capturing that uproot, and we are looking very close now Rhea might touch the moon just as Dansta is leaving this alcove here, and that's exactly what's happening, as the ending here of Wooded might still determine who actually comes out ahead on that kingdom. Not only can you get stunned falling down from the ledge here, and I think Dansta might actually intentionally bounce on that robot. It's not opting to do so. It's going to go for the mash, which avoids being stunned as well, and is going to get it. Whereas opting to do the same, also gets it, but loses some speed on that ledge. And then it's going to be all about the pipeway section.
Oh, Dansta with the very scary
Close
roll
call.
cancel around the corner like that. Not opting for the spin pound. Yeah, if he had missed that, if his roll cancel timing was just a little bit off, if he was a little bit late with that, he would have rolled right into the deep woods.
Absolutely. This is an extending loading zone around the kingdom, which most people are aware of, even from casual play. Honestly, it took me a while, even in casual play, to find that place. But yeah, not only can you fall there when you make any mistakes during Nutlip, and Rhea is taking a big time loss here as he's getting hit by those fuzzies, missing the cycle, and going to be taking a 2-second damage refill towards the end of the kingdom. But that entire deep woods loading zone, basically going around the kingdom, if you do fall down, instead of dying, you get warped to a place where you cannot escape unless you plant a vine and then dreadfully climb back out.
Yep, and obviously not what you want to see. If it was at the very end of the kingdom like that in a race, you could potentially save yourself from losing too much time if you knew where some backup moons were. But definitely not an optimal place to be. You got to come out, and there's no warping in the deep moons, or in the deep woods, so...
No warping. The only way that you can actually warp out there is by activating the assist mode, but I think entering assist mode in terms of an any percent run on the leaderboards is not allowed, so it would probably also not be allowed in a race setting.
And not to mention rather slow to switch modes as well.
True, but probably still the best way to leave the deep woods if you were there, but once again, not an option in a race.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's cloud time again, and we at least see both runners here at the same time, pretty much one phase apart. A little bit less than that. Rhea's already punched Bowser here. So we are looking at a pretty much an equal lead. I think it was around that when we were headed into Cloud the last time, and then it kind of grew on Tyron as he did have a better, not only Lost, but also Metro Kingdom specifically.
Yep, that is true. We'll see how these runners stack up against those as well. And Dansta going to be leaving Cloud Kingdom with just a tiny bit of a lead now.
But yeah, even though both runners had a pretty decent loss, actually Tyron had a pretty good one for the most part. You know, I also saw him have issues on the meme tree jump, the very first jump. And then I would absolutely not surprise if we see a couple Klepto activations, a couple falling into poison moments in this kingdom throughout the league still. They can still happen at any point.
Yeah, it would be of no big surprise to me, that's for sure. Just about anything can happen. And even though these guys have Lost Kingdom down to a science, it's still a very big possibility that, you know, you can just miss time your dive just a little bit and take a bonk and fall in the poison or something like that, so...
We are pretty much exactly looking at 2 moons apart right now, but we are talking about lost moons. And these moons sometimes take longer to be collected than actually to get to them. Like a moon cutscene lasts around 3.5 seconds, and sometimes you take less time to actually get from, like this one is a good example. Like this probably only takes like 2.5 seconds to even get to the next moon, so the cutscene is longer than the movement.
Yep, that's right. It's just so close together. It makes it such a quick kingdom. And it all kind of has to be done in one very fluid motion. There is no time for breaks.
It's like this time not opting for the reverse Trapeated strat. Once again, this may be exclusive. For now, we'll see once again how the season develops for Tyron and Mitch to go for. Very tricky and actually pretty rewarding strat if you do get it. But yeah, not major. We're not talking major, we're talking a decently interesting strat on this level. But very hard.
And Rhea underneath the bridge, just got to do a cap B throw and back up on top, perfect, and on his way out of Lost Kingdom. Yeah, nice little up throw strategy into the dive there. And these runners are within 20 seconds of each other still going into Metro.
And Metro is still one of the longest kingdoms, if you consider Metro to be... I mean, it's definitely one kingdom. Some people just like to split it into night and day Metro, which is obvious because of basically the 2 stages and the 2 states that we visit. But it's still a Metro kingdom, and if you count all of that kingdom as one, it's still one of the longest kingdoms in the run. Certainly when we look at gameplay, since even though there is a good amount of cutscenes, Bowser's Kingdom, while being very long, has lots of them. Lots of story moons that we collect. We don't collect story moons here anymore. I mean, we collect the multi-moon, but not actual single story moons.
Yeah, as it stands. Unless these guys are going to be going for the musician's route that was of the kind of the past. We should not see that too often anymore, considering bullet building is a little bit more optimal than it even was before. So
yeah, and even though it can be frustrating as a speedrunner, especially when we get to this, like when you get to this level, you just want to get those little time saves. Like that's how time saves also are sometimes misunderstood. Obviously, if you go for a time save, like bullet building, which let's say saves around 3.5 seconds, let's say 3 realistically, okay, and you bonk during them, somehow some runners perceive that, oh, I shouldn't go for that split anymore, oh yeah, I bonk always on that corner when I go into slots or something. But that's like the wrong way of perceiving it, because technically you're not even losing time, you're only saving 1 second at this point. Even if you bonk twice, you're still losing like way less time than if you bonk twice on the other route.
That's right.
You kind of want to get those time saves in if you can. It just feels nice to be able to have that available to you. You know, oh, I'm getting to the section here where I can save 4 seconds that I wasn't able to save in IPD before. So everybody is slowly but surely adding it.
Yep. And, you know, if you do lose 1 second extra on top of what you would have saved, then, yeah, you're basically the net gain is definitely worth it in situations like this.
Absolutely. It is Wiggler time on both screens. Dansta's pattern is about to get revealed here.
Ooh, he's got a good one.
Yeah, let's see how good his shooting is. Oh, I thought he was going to miss one. Actually, only at 1 HP. But he is fine there at the very end as he gets that last shot in. Scary. We haven't seen many or any Mecha Wiggler deaths, but sometimes if you take a little too much damage there and maybe even miss the 2 second, that's where it gets really scary.
It kind of looked like these guys got the exact same Wiggler pattern.
Rhea did miss 2 shots, but is able to get that last one, and at the very end there, maybe had like a second or 2 left before the Wiggler would have been unkillable again. It would have went back into the wall, which would have lost him close to 25 seconds, but he is able to get it there at the very end, able to acquire the multi-moon, and then Day Metro awaits.
And this is where we will see what the strategy is here. Obviously going to be coming out of that girder, the second girder, and maybe heading over to the slots. And, you know, we used to think that bullet building was one of these, like, very impossible time, basically racing against the clock to try and beat this cycle. But the level of movement that these top runners have is just absolutely phenomenal, and they kind of make it look easy now.
And just as you say that, Dansta starting off with a very clean drive-by scoot clip here. It is important that if they go for the bullet building route, even though they do not need those 100 coins for Snow Shop yet, you do at least need 10, something to always slightly track, but those should automatically be obtained as you just play through the game after the wooded shop. The only way you could really have a problem here is if you maybe took a death somewhere, and because it does cost you 10 coins to get that entry fee to play the slots minigame, which if you go for the bullet building route is going to be your plan. You are going to be collecting some coins in the girder, but this is something we on a very rare occasion may see.
and it may be even possible that a runner forgets about their deaths along the way and does not have enough coins and comes into this slots room not even thinking about it. So something to keep your eye on for sure.
It gets specifically tricky if you, like Equan, miss one slot playthrough, and then you have to pay the fee again. And that's really when it could start becoming tricky. So that's really when the pressure may be on. But Rhea is actually not going to be going for the slots moon here. It is going for those musicians. We are sadly not going to be able to see like a live comparison, but we'll see if Dansta is getting rewarded here to go for this. If he is able to play for this room optimally, he is certainly going to save time with it.
And it looks really clean so far. Just a long jump into a set of dives and setting himself up to capture the bullet bill. Very clean stuff from Dansta here.
Almost taking a crash there against another bullet bill. It's going to crash this bullet bill against the wall. We might actually expect that to be the more common pattern than actually making it all the way through, which once again is optimal if you avoid that crash there and then just uncapture to get the moon. But that was still definitely good enough to save time with it. So he is getting rewarded this time for that bullet building subroom choice.
Certainly. Already getting the warp up to the City Hall, as you can see. Rhea traveling just behind. He has both of his musicians now warping out to the top of City Hall. But Dansta actually taking a fall off the top of City Hall here.
That's quite a massive one right there. He's still going to be holding onto his lead that he has built up to, but that's obviously a pretty long fall. The wire is available for him there at the bottom to get back up, but the lead definitely drastically shrunk.
Just like that. Grabbing that hint art from the pool, you can see Dansta is collecting those coins now. Didn't get quite the bullseye that he was looking for there. And yeah, Rhea is going to be slowly creeping his way back in here as a result of that.
Nonetheless, regardless of bullet building or not, we still need more coins for the snow shop, and both runners here opted for the coin hint art in the pool, which is the more reasonable choice. There is another hint art on a crossing, which, I mean, I think you could probably get in around this. Actually, no, it's probably impossible to get at one faster than at one in the pool, because either way, you either would be slowed down capturing the pole, or you would be slowed down with your nice momentum that the pole gives you after the bench. It's also an option, but we will probably not see that one in this category. Once again, the cloud hint art being the really optimal one. The only runner that I could see go for that. I'm not sure if once again, Mitch going for most of the crazy strats, if that's something he messed with. I have seen Little Curbs successfully go for that cloud coin hint art yet, which is once again maybe like a half a second faster than the one in the pool. But hey, sometimes half seconds matter. Well, actually, Little Curbs is literally the best example in the world for that, because his long-lasting world record was a 100.5 or something. So saving that amount of time can be quite massive.
Absolutely. He was literally 0.5 seconds away from history. He does have a sub-hour of his own. In fact, his very first sub-hour was in a race here at Global Speedrun Association.
Yeah, Curbs definitely still adding his part to the history of this game, getting multiple world records, getting multiple amazing runs. One of the most legendary runs actually in the community, where attempts by him that either found a tragic end or ended up getting a record. And once again, that 100 is always going to be mentioned, since this was actually such a long-standing record. Everybody was like, it has to happen any day, and that record stood for like almost a month.
Yeah, which is really, really crazy. Definitely like a community mental barrier of sorts going on there, as far as sub-hour is concerned.
Now let's see. This is Rhea almost, actually, I think he actually did. I was about to say almost falling prey to that weird camera angle. I did see the camera just turn on him there, which the game tries to help you, and it's absolutely doing the opposite, as it's moving the camera towards the entrance of Chavaria, which is technically hidden, but that camera movement really can mess up your dive angle towards Cappy, and I think since he did take a little bit of an off angle there, he may have not made that bonk count. Dansta going for the moon clip here. He looks to be quite low. Yeah, I was about to say, probably not working. Another use of the moon clip to get to that sub room quicker.
Yeah, taking advantage of the out of bounds area, you can just dive all the way across into the loading zone instead of going down the hallway, saving you about a second and a half.
Exactly. And Rhea with a little bit of a wall slide here. Now also not going for the... Also not getting the moon clip here. Losing some slight amounts of time. Now Dansta, while that looked pretty fancy, actually probably not perfectly happy with him blowing all of the spinies off the ledge there. It is actually optimal to leave a spiny alive there and then manually kick it away with your cap as the camera takes less time to transition back and forth. They are not actually really going for it, look like, but once again, small things matter, but won't really cause a big issue, especially if both of them have the same result.
Certainly. Rhea doing his best to keep pace with Dansta. They're still very, very close. Rhea is going to be entering the same sub-area that Dansta is in now in just a few moments. Dansta getting some very nice RNG from the Goombas, except that one Goomba did get a little bit stuck on the edge there. We've actually seen it a couple of times before in the past where that Goomba will actually just decide to walk right off the cliff. Luckily not happening to either of these runners here.
Yeah, those Goombas can or cannot sometimes cooperate with you. I've seen very scary moments here. Sometimes you drop off the Goombas expecting them to hit the switch and they don't, and you dive into your death. Sometimes actually they do decide to step onto the pressure plate last second, which makes for some really Monka W moments where basically you dive into the abyss and then the Goombas last second step onto the switch, allowing you to get that moon. But both of them getting through that section unscathed and are now buying their shop moon and making their way towards Snowdram.
These guys are so close together that this could just be what changes the pace of the race. If Dansta misses his attempt, Rhea is right back in this, maybe even in the lead.
Absolutely. Very, very quick backup here from Dansta as he just assures that his camera is lined up correctly. We did see Deepon earlier to go for that setupless setup. I guess that's wrong, but the setupless attempt. Dansta getting Snowdram here. These guys have figured out ways to, even with a less precise setup and just by some better vectoring, some better movement to make that jump pretty consistent, but Ray actually getting the ledge clip on Snowdram. The most annoying fail, literally pixels of making the jump, but not being allowed on top.
Oh, as somebody who has suffered
through
through
most
that,
consistent edge clips.
Yeah, so as somebody who has suffered through that, I can definitely say that it is a very triggering thing to have to deal with. You know, it basically signals that you had made the jump, if only a pixel short. And Rhea going to be taking that 20-second penalty as a result.
Very, very unfortunate. Makes for a little bit of a highlight as always. It's very rare to see these kind of clips happen. They are actually technically possible everywhere when you just line up your dive perfectly and clip into that section where basically is a ground section and a wall section collide. You can ledge clip, just straight up dive through. We've seen that in a couple of sections. It is actually mostly seen there, still super rare. I think back to one of the very early GSA matches almost a year ago, one of the first ever tournaments where we had someone ledge clip at the very end of the moon with a long jump even. Perhaps the average. I remember that match pretty well. It was casting with Accurate. Good times, almost a year ago at this point, GSA. It's been going strong since then, but such a frustrating mistake to make.
Yeah, and a really unfortunate one that you can't really control. You just don't see that kind of stuff coming.
Now both of them obviously opting for a fish clip route here. This is something that at this point will be recommended to new runners even. Like nobody is gonna, like literally nodes is harder than doing this clip. Usually clips out of bounds dreads are always considered to be, oh yeah, this is something the advanced players go for. But this clip is literally, this clip will be recommended to you when you start learning the speed game. This will be the more optimal moon for the round. The other alternative is getting nodes, which is, even if you don't go for any like floor refresh ideas, actually harder to consistently get that right angle and to just clip, dude, and save those seconds.
Absolutely. I've gone on and said that getting the fish clip is freer than turning the game on. It really is just such a simple movement thing. As soon as you figure out how it works, you will never miss it again.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, even if you do, when you start out and you do it like for the first time, even if you miss it, you can back it up and still save. That's the thing. Like, maybe break even with notes, and notes is just horrible. So, yeah, you still learn this clip if you learn this game.
Yep. Make it the very first trick you ever learn. Show it to your friends. It's a pretty swaggy thing to do. And, you know, if you're not speedrunning, it's pretty cool to be able to swim around the Seaside Kingdom out of bounds and go to places and see what the kingdom looks like from the outside.
It's making this look easy, which it is. And Rhea is probably opting to do the same on the right screen. And once again, even though that snow dram mishap happened, this is still pretty close. Dansta now warping out. We see that white fade out happening at 37.50, and we'll see what Rhea is gonna get there. I'm assuming we are looking at around 30 seconds. Yeah, pretty much exact. I forgot you still have to get this moon as Rhea almost clips back in bounds, which is actually one of the most drastic mistakes you can make in Seaside. Kind of almost proving us wrong about this being easy. This is literally the harder part, by the way, than the clip.
Absolutely.
Getting that out of bounds fast.
The clip itself is very easy. Making sure that you have a good line so that you don't clip back in is the hard part. If he were to come back in, he would have to swim out of that tiny little corridor where the moon is and talk to the Sphinx and open up the passageway manually, losing him probably about 20 seconds.
And 37 seconds is the difference we are now looking at. Probably losing close to those 7 or maybe 5 seconds off of that safety save there, out of bounds. But yeah, 37 seconds is literally the exact time that Tyron, not exact, but around that time is almost what Tyron lost during Mech, and they are not even in Bowser's Kingdom yet, so no lead is safe, and especially not a late like this going into luncheon.
Ooh, very, very close dive from Dansta there. If Cappy wasn't there, he probably would have bonked on the edge and taken some damage from the lava.
Yep. And he actually used that cap bounce to straight up turn and dive into that moon. Not sure if that was actually intentional, but if it wasn't, definitely reacting well to that specific circumstance.
Now, Reyes salt pile triple looked a little bit sketchy there, but he did make it up just fine.
And Spewart is defeated on the left screen now. Rhea hopefully making it over to that moon in the pillar's shadow. Well, I guess that on the left, I guess the left thing there's a pillar. I guess that's why that moon is called. I was actually wondering why that moon is called pillar's shadow, because it's in like a corridor. Now I see there's like a pillar holding this up, and I guess the shadow it's casting is where the moon is hiding.
Yeah, I have always been kind of confused about that myself. The pillar would kind of imply that the pillar is just standing by itself, but it does make like a little bit of like an alcove, you know? Yeah,
like the pillar that's actually the moon that we get as well, but that one is called differently. It's called like in a column in a row or something.
Yeah.
Like that's, to me, a more obvious pillar. But hey, those moon names, yeah, I don't know about those. Honestly, after playing some other games, I realized that the American localization sometimes is just like, they just do their own thing for Nintendo games.
Certainly.
After playing like Breath of the Wild, I realized that because in that game, like all of the shrines have like different names, and I was always thinking, why are they translated differently? And then I realized that every other language actually just tries to say the same name that the Japanese language says, and English was just doing its own thing.
A good example of that is the Wandering Cactus. So, Wandering Cactus is what it's called in English, but the Japanese name for it is something along the lines of the cactus wants to go for a walk as well, which I think is really cute.
Yeah, and I think that's also what the German translation says, like something like take the cactus for a walk or something. So usually those localizations just try to like mimic what the Japanese is saying, and English is like, hey, we're doing our own game, our own thing. But, well, once again, those moon names maybe not the most... They might not always make sense, but that's obviously something that any percent runner, and technically no speedrunner ever has to deal with unless they're interested in routing or reading route documents where that knowledge really helps. Or playing things like Bingo, which I still think has a future in this game.
Absolutely. I think that the randomized elements of Bingo could make it very exciting for competition-based things, and maybe something GSA will be looking for in the future.
Lots of content to be explored there. But Dansta is going to be missing that fork flick to the right there. And actually, even though he kind of got a sketchy angle, was still confident to go for a cap throw dive there instead of going to the lower ledge. So at least having the confidence, I'm not even sure if I want to say at least, he has the confidence there. May have been kind of sketchy. It worked though. And once again, let's see how they make their way up to the jutting crug, as Dansta is going for a spin pond on the left section and then a wall jump in the middle section. We did see some preference there in the last race. It's even hard to say which one will prevail, which one's even the faster one. Specifically for those kind of movements, it is just preference sometimes. Woo! Getting that ledge grab right there, almost taking a little dip into the lava, which would have caused him a damage refill.
And Rhea getting his movement up to the jutting crag just fine, opting for the Shireen bounce, that really, really close walled bounce, instead of going off to the left side. But making it work for him, and Rhea definitely going for the spam pan approach, just trying to bust open as many cheese rocks as he can, probably wasting a little bit more time than Dansta did on his approach. Dansta making it look really clean by coming in nice and close and throwing the pans one at a time.
Now let's see if any of these guys have issues here behind that candy wall. I'm just assuming that this is candy. It's I guess rock, but it makes sense for it to be like hard candy. I don't know. And I did point out earlier that this is still the last scary section in Dungeon, because as soon as you capture that meat, you just collect that multi-moon and you go for a free trip to Ruined.
That is correct. Getting up to the meat is not necessarily the easiest task, though. Basically have to do a dive immediately out of this moon animation and a couple of scary jumps along the wall. And if you kind of snag Mario at some points and kill your momentum, which is a very common thing that can happen, or if you take a bonk anywhere on there, you fall down into the lava, there is a safety kind of wall/floor area that you can use to save yourself, but it's not always guaranteed. But neither of these runners having to worry about that this time. Going to be grabbing that multi-moon and on their way to Ruined Kingdom. And they're still not that far apart. Still some possibilities for the lead to shrink. But Dansta does have probably about 25 seconds of advantage over Rhea going into Ruined.
And this is actually, meme or not, one of Rhea's strong kingdoms. Always really looked upon as... Like, everybody always looked at Rhea when it comes to Ruin, because how does this guy get these low times there? He just seems to have something figured out that others may not. And it's literally playing clean, getting those spin pounds onto the dragon head instantly, or those ground pounds, because you actually don't need to spin if you time it correctly. Maybe easier, because with your ground pound you have to kind of like account for the time you're falling. Dansta getting a really cool roll boost on top of the T/sword there. That was actually really cool.
I'm not entirely sure if that was on purpose, but it did look very nice.
Yeah. That was pretty hot. Once again, may have not been intentional, but if it was, or even if it wasn't, it was cool either way. Let's see Rhea start here, going for a double dive and then rolls through. Very good angle here. This is actually what might make the difference here, staying very close on the left on that staircase. We are hyping up these small things just because Ruin is so much of an auto-scroller, but that's all you can do. That's all you have as a runner here, as a tool to get better times.
Yeah, there's very few things you can really do in the fight to optimize anything. The dragon is not going to take any more or less time going from phase to phase. You just have to ignore everything and kind of wait for him to do his things and then get up on his head. Use the damage boost and pull the pegs out. You can manipulate some things, though. One thing that's kind of handy that you can do in the second phase is using the fact that if you throw your cap 3 times in a row, that third cap throw will actually come out much faster than the other 2. So you can kind of manipulate cap in a way to make the second phase a little bit faster. But aside from that, again, not really anything you can do except for optimal ground pounds.
Let's see the ending here of Ruin. Actually, I kind of missed out on looking at Rhea's timer here. I would have been interested to see what this Ruin has been. We do have still time to look at his last hit here. How clean it is.
It didn't look like he got the setup that he wanted there, but he is going to be finishing off.
That was a quick one.
Solidly.
That was a quick hit for sure, as he makes short work of the dragon. And we are pretty much one multi-moon cutscene apart, which seems not much because Mario has just left the building, aka the arena. And that's what Rhea is currently starting. But this cutscene is dragging on for so long. Mario likes to do a 15-second dance, floating around 16 times around the moon, doing a couple dabs, a backflip. And as this is not enough, we still have like a fade out, and then he flies off again. Cool. And then we have another fade out. Thanks.
Yeah, this literal whole minute worth of the game, essentially, where we're just sitting, waiting for cutscenes. We throw Cappy once or twice in Rhea's case here, and then we're on our way, and you just keep waiting. You just keep waiting for the cutscenes to go. You know, as a runner, I can say that I do value the downtime sometimes, because if you're on PB pace, or if you're on the run of your life, going into Bowser's Kingdom, it can be nice to have that moment to breathe.
Now, I'm pretty sure we are not gonna see. Actually, I was about to say, now that I think back, there was a couple runners that like that bird ram choice, but Econ always stuck out as in terms of the top runners as one of the very few that goes for that. We may see it more than just once in this league. Once again, there was also a time where runners kept changing their preferences there. But in this race, it looks like both of them are going to be going for the moon behind the crates.
And out of the runners we've seen in the league so far, 3 of the 4 are returning racers from the last season. So, you know, we can kind of expect to see the same things from some of these guys with some updated strategies, of course, and some updated running potential. But as far as the new racers are concerned, we are going to see some new habits from them and some new ways about going about things. So you just never know.
Very quick capture here. On the wire stands next towards the shards section, which we didn't really talk about in the last race. We were mainly talking about that bird ram strategy, but this does stick out in Bowser's Kingdom as one of the more mechanical sections, just as that section afterwards. It's a very quick section afterwards where you just move from here towards the boss fights, but there's a couple of tricky small strategies like that instant dive and that Bowser ram that just come right after each other.
And this entire shard section as well, I suppose. Utilizing everything in Mario's toolkit here, some roll cancels to maintain momentum. You've got this dive back strategy here that you see. Both of these guys nailing it just fine. And as well as one capture towards the end here. And finishing it up with a little bit of camera manipulation to kind of save the amount of time that the camera needs to move in between these cutscenes.
Very nice, and is going to be opting for the Bowser Ram. He obviously gets the dive just on that ledge, and I think that looked like he got Cappy to capture the wire as he is cutting out that backtracking. And for the instant dive, very nice, over the island. Pretty straight line towards that next wire as well. And then let's see the choice of boss fights here. Very reasonable. A speedrunner here on the left screen as he fights Harriet.
Professional at work on the left-hand side of the screen. Now, Ekwon picked Topper first. Is this going to be a trend for the American runners to go to the right side?
Oh, I would be very disappointed from the... Oh, yeah, we see Rhea. I think it's just an odd trend there from Ekwon. We might see other broad runners like Chaos Springer opt for the for the Topper first strategy, but I think it's going to be more of a Rhea strategy.
Yep, Rhea going to the left side, doing Harriet the intended way. And they're still very, very tightly knit. There's only basically one or two hits of the Harriet fight in between them. It really could go either way. Mech is coming up, and if Dansta falls off, or does this? Okay, he was able to get the Topper hit back just in time. Going to be losing a couple seconds as a result of that, but he is going to be okay. And yeah, a whole topper fight away from each other now, essentially. Anything is possible.
Anything is possible for sure. They are now closing out that topper fight. Hopefully one more phase to go through. And this is still very, very close here. There is some cutscenes between that fight and collecting the actual moon. But keep in mind, this is about to be that section where Tyron last run lost around 20 to 30 seconds. They're just trying to get back onto that mech. And that's around the time that Dansta is currently leading by. Dropping pretty low here on that crate, and we did talk about how many runners may sometimes switch to that bird drum strategy, and actually a mistake like this on a good run can push a runner to just switch, because they know, oh, I never have to deal with this again, and I'm only maybe losing optimally 0.2 seconds or something like that. So that can still happen, but Dansta is still making the work, losing a little bit of time there. Rhea also struggling a little bit there to keep his triple jump going, but keeps a good amount of momentum to go for a single jump around the corner.
And he's going to be opening the crate immediately. Dansta obviously losing some time trying to bust open those crates with one throw and then a wall jump and then another throw. So, you know, even though we haven't gotten to the Robo Brutal fight yet, Ray is closing in just a little bit more.
And as if anything, we may have not seen the biggest discoveries recently in this community, but if anything, this start of the league is proving that this game is always delivering, especially on this level, very, very close and hot races. I'm expecting to never really see it on this level. I mean, not never, there might be this occasional deep spot, but these races are always close. Such a great game for racing specifically, which is why I'm so excited for the entire course of this league. Dansta, though, starting off his mech quite excellent. Gets both hits fast, but Ray on the other street is going to be falling down on that leg climb, hopefully getting it on a second attempt. And then he might bank on the fact that Dansta may make a mistake here.
Dansta's going to be the first to line up the target acquired hit.
At the same time, Ray acquiring the topper hits. Very nice strategy there as he kept return jump over the bubble. And when we say acquired, we basically just mean that they instantly snipe it before the mech even gets a chance to turn.
Which is essentially required for this final hit on Spewart. Otherwise, he's going to be spinning around, and you're going to fall down, and you're going to have to make your way back up.
I was saying acquired, required?
Oh, I guess acquired is required.
Oh, acquired is required, as Rhea is getting it on the right screen. That's actually too hard to say. I wanted to say it again, but target, acquired, required is kind of hard to say fast. But both of them getting it. Dansta is going to be keeping his lead into Moon.
And it's all going to come down to this. Now we have talked about it being very hard to lose time in Moon Kingdom. But, you know, anything is quite possible here.
Yeah, and then Econ died to the D-skip.
Exactly. If that
it
happens...
can still happen. We also saw Tyron opting for the fast Moon skip, Moon Cave skip, not getting it, falling down, losing around, I want to say, maybe like 8 seconds, 7 seconds, as he had to set up again. And we are basically in that cutscene at the end at the same time. So we are looking at less than 30 seconds of a lead. Less than 30 seconds of lead.
Yep, absolutely. It would really only take one big mistake to kind of change the tide of this race.
But if anything, there's like 3 major time loss opportunities here. It's that outside movement in Moon. There are small time saves over the entire section here, but the big time save is if you take an unexpected fall. Once again, you will be set back all the way to the start, which is the Odyssey, so the spawning location. Then the Bowser fight, where if you make a mistake there, you already lose quite a big chunk of time. This is one of those smaller time losses here that Dansta just took by taking that bomb. But then specifically that escape section, which partly has the 2D section, where you can fall and start at the very beginning, or even the pillar room, where you lose up to 2 minutes if you fall.
Yes, that is right. Hopefully we do not see that happening from these guys. But that is what Rhea would require to kind of bring this back in.
Yep, and spin pound moon cave skip from Dansta. They're just opting for the spin pound, which some runners just don't like going for. Spin pound's usually optimal on moon, less optimal, since it is, because of the low gravity, not that easy to get a fast ground pound off of it. Still technically optimal if you get it. Rhea struggling though to get his cat bounce on the first attempt. It's going to be going for a normal moon cave skip, gets a fast wall kick off, and a very nice line there towards the Cathedral. So now it's up to Bowser fight and the escape stage.
Let's see what they do here. At least they're still within the Bowser fight, apart from one another here. Dansta approaching that second phase. Rhea falling into the arena for the first one.
Many, very nice synced up head grabs here. This is exactly one phase apart. Many would tell you that this is arguably the easier version of the Bowser fight, especially because the first phase has more leniency, depending on what strats you go for, I guess. But it's really close. Sadly, they didn't really... But I guess they didn't expect us to go for fast head grabs when they did this casually, but it didn't really add much difficulty in this fight.
No, not necessarily. Bowser will hop into the middle and kind of eliminate your need to rush to the other side of the arena to get those fast hits. So it's just longer.
And those flames are particularly it's pretty useless, basically, as Rhea is showing off there. They're basically just a ground scan. Dansta was able to escape the Bowser fight easily. And you can just kind of hop over those flames. They're not really dangerous. Dangerous. Rhea now damage boosting to get that last head grab, and is also going to be able to finish up the Bowser fight. It's all up to Dansta now cleaning up this escape.
Yep, going through the stage. Now, of course, very scary moment coming up here. This is where we saw Ekwon take a tumble. And if that is going to happen to Dansta here, that's all it's going to take for Rhea to just surge through with the lead.
And this is the one jump that most runners still sometimes are particularly scared about. Not specifically because it's hard at all, and most people got really good at it, just because there's always going to be that threat of falling down, losing time to it. Now, Rhea still has to get through this, even though Dansta is making this look like he has it in the bag. The only chance of him losing this would be a death in the pillar room. If this is the fate of this race, Rhea at least wants to stay close. He wants to get as many points as he can. We talked about the point system earlier. We can already always go back on that when we see the bracket before each of the matches, which is a really nice upgrade. Rhea going for the signature wall jump there. It's almost reminiscent of like the SMB1 wall jump, where you can really see that little ledge there where you can actually hop on. He is getting it there on the second attempt, so not really saving time with it. On your first attempt, it may be more optimal because you don't have to shoot and move to the left, but nice little swag strategy, which we'll not even use in a second, I want to say, so I can respect it.
Perhaps already knowing that he's going to be coming in with the loss here, and, you know, just try to flash it up a little bit.
Yeah, for sure, and is going to be capturing the Y here. Might have still snatched the 100 there at the very end, might be a 59. As he shoots out. I think he kind of like stopped the timer early in my eyes, and once again, maybe that was just delay. That was a 59, but definitely a 100, I want to say. So just got that in. And Rhea looking to get a mid 101 here. He's now destroying the block here, so very close race. Still going to be getting a good amount of points here from this, as he's now destroying the block, capturing the wire, and it's going to be a 101.30. So only really a little bit more than 30 seconds apart as both finish strong.
Yeah, very solid showing for their first race in this league. They've got to be happy with that, especially with Dansta coming out with the win. We do have him joining us in the call for some closing comments. Now, Dansta, how do you feel about that first race? Pulling out a 100 and the victory here.
Definitely getting debated there by the Discord avatar, not actually in the call. Oh, he's now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I am pretty satisfied actually because I have done 2 no resets today. One was a 104, the other 103. So I really was scared of messing that stuff up. But like, I think it was a 100.59. I stopped early, but it was a 100 pretty sure. So I'm really satisfied.
That's what I thought as well. So Mayhem still barely came in 30 plus seconds ahead. So Raya definitely still put up a fight. Very impressed still when runners kind of like disappear and then they come back so strong. Still able to get those results. But good runs from both of you. I definitely enjoyed that. And since you are here right now, you're the only one, and I kind of want to make this like this trend. By the way, Europe taking the 2-0 lead today. Make sure to keep track of that one. But what I actually want to ask you is, because now that you're here, is this little prediction game. How many sub-hours do you think will we see? I'm kind of keeping track of that in the league, the season.
I'm gonna say 10.
10? Okay, everybody kind of agreeing around that kind of threshold. We'll see. Hopefully not hyping that up for no reason, but we have guesses between like 7 and 15 now. So make sure to not miss these guys, and we have more races coming up today, literally just after a little bit of intermission. But Dangerous and I think are going to be signing out. I'm not sure about you, Dangerous, but I'm going to be signing out. So thank you guys for watching with us. But make sure to stay tuned for more Odyssey action coming up right now. Follow the channel and see
that's correct.
Well, I'm gonna stay because I'm gonna commentate the next one.
Have fun with Dansta, guys. See you next week.